Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Amos, the 7th chapter. And in this chapter, once again, right, we see Amos continues to prophesy the word of the Lord concerning the northern kingdom. In particular, the princes and the rulers, right, which were living lavish at the expense of the poor and the less fortunate. And then we see that at this point, they get fed up with it and then pretty much try to drive Amos out of there, right? And rightly so did he mention in Amos the 5th chapter that they hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. Okay. So this is the book of Amos chapter 7 verse 1. Thus hath the Lord Yahweh shewed unto me, and behold, he formed grasshoppers in the beginning of the shooting up of the latter growth. And lo, it was the latter growth after the king's mowings. Now, Amos here is prophesying about this vision, right, that the Lord showed him. And these visions here were what the Lord's intention was, right? Like the Lord intended to do this. And so first Amos sees grasshoppers or locusts, which are crop eaters. And he sees, as it says, he sees them in the beginning of the shooting up of the latter growth. So that's going into the harvest. Okay. And as it says, and lo, it was the latter growth after the king's mowings, which the king's mowings was really during harvest time, the first batch, you could say, right? The king would get his crops first, right? As was in the contract, so to speak, when Israel desired a king, it was told to them that he would get your sons and daughters, his servants, and the first of your crops, and so on. So that was the king's mowings, right? And after that, the harvest, right, of the remaining would be for the people. So that latter growth is after, as it says here, after the king's share was already dealt with. Amos here starts to see them locusts being formed. Verse 2, and it came to pass that when they had made an end of eating the grass of the land, that I said, O Lord God, forgive, I beseech thee, by whom shall Jacob rise? For he is small. So Amos pretty much saw the crops being devoured by the locusts. And he basically begged for mercy from the Lord to say, Lord, if you do this, they're not going to survive, right? Israel's not going to survive. We're already small as it is. This would pretty much be almost like a nail in the coffin. Verse 3, the Lord Yahweh repented for this. It shall not be, saith the Lord. Okay, so he basically is telling his vision, like, yo, the Lord was going to do this. I pled, right, on your behalf, and then the Lord repented of that. Verse 4, thus hath the Lord Yahweh showed unto me, and behold, the Lord God called to contend by fire, and it devoured the great deep, and did eat up a part. So now he said the next thing the Lord showed me was pretty much, right, when you go into the word contend, it means like to strive, right? So he's like, you're doing all this wickedness, let's go at it. So the Lord wanted to go at it by fire this time. And in the vision that Amos saw, he's seeing this fire devouring a large body of water and then burning part of the land. And when he saw this, right, verse 5, then said I, O Lord God, cease, I beseech thee. By whom shall Jacob arise? For he is small. So to say, oh Lord, no, please. You definitely going to eliminate them now. And these are your people, right? If you destroy them with so great a judgment, they're never going to be able to come back from that. The Lord Yahweh repented for this. This also shall not be, saith the Lord God. Thus he showed me, and behold, The Lord stood upon a wall made by a plumb line, with a plumb line in his hand. And the Lord Yahweh said unto me, Amos, what seest thou? And I said, a plumb line. Then said the Lord, behold, I will set a plumb line in the midst of my people Israel, and I will not again pass by them any more. Now, obviously, Amos wasn't seeing the Most High himself, right? Jumped out of his throne, grabbed a plumb line, and he was walking up on a wall. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what it was, right? Amos, you can imagine, saw a figure, saw a man. It could have been an angel, but this was a message of the Lord anyway, so it was attributed to the Lord. So you see somebody with a plumb line, and a plumb line looks something like this. Plumb line. Yeah, something like this. Let's look at the image and then get what it's used for. So it's just like, something like this, something heavy, right, that has a line attached to it, and is really used to measure vertical correctness, you could say, right? How straight a wall or a line is. So this would be like a reference line here, using gravity to sort of determine that. And they used this in the past to during construction to ensure that those walls and so on, at least from a vertical standpoint, were straight. So as you can see, it says a plumb line is a tool, typically a string with a weight attached, used to establish a vertical line or to check if something is perfectly vertical, like a wall. A plumb line helps ensure that structures or objects are aligned vertically, which is crucial in construction, carpentry, and other fields. The weight hangs freely, and the string follows the direction of gravity, creating a vertical reference line. So that's what Amos saw here, right? And obviously he knew what it was. And so the point in the Lord showing Amos this, right, and asking him what he saw, was the Lord, as he says, I will set a plumb line in the midst of my people Israel, right? Because a plumb line is used to measure vertical correctness or vertical straightness. And you can imagine here, the Lord is symbolically referring to the uprightness, okay, of Israel, measuring them as they were builded, as the scriptures say. I've planted a let's see if I can find that precept. I don't want to misquote it. Degenerate. Yeah. Jeremiah 2:21. Yet I planted thee a noble vine, wholly a right seed. How then art thou turned into the degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? Right. So similarly here, the Lord is like, you were really set up to be upright, but I'm going to measure you, right, spiritually, using this spiritual plumb line to measure the correctness or the righteousness of these people here. And I'm going to judge them according to this measurement. And I'm not going to ignore or overlook their sins anymore. That's what the Lord means by I will not again pass by them anymore. And the high places of Isaac shall be desolate, and the sanctuaries of Israel shall be laid waste. And I will rise against the house of Jeroboam by the sword. So the Lord, and this is Jeroboam the second, right? Remember, as we looked at in the timeline, let's see, was it? Yeah. When we got to Amos here, the ruler was Jeroboam, right? And so that's Jeroboam the second, not Jeroboam the first. And so the Lord, speaks against Jeroboam, right? To say that this dude he's doing wickedness as well. He's the ruler, and look at what him and his people are doing. So not only am I going to destroy their high places, their altars, their buildings, their sanctuaries, I'm also going to comfort him with the sword. Then Amaziah, the priest of Bethel, sent to Jeroboam, king of Israel, saying, Amos hath conspired against thee in the midst of the house of Israel, and the land is not able to bear all his words. Please, this guy he's crazy. He's out of control. He's saying all these things. He's threatening people, saying the Lord said he's going to do this to us. The Lord is going to do this to us. Every time we pass by this guy, there's always some negative, bad news that he's saying. We can't deal with it anymore. And now he's even conspiring against you, saying that the Lord said he's going to kill you, or all that. For thus Amos saith, Jeroboam shall die by the sword. Can you believe this guy? And Israel shall surely be led away captive out of their own land. So he's saying these things. He's saying God is going, he's going to bring the sword. He's going to kill you, and the Lord is going to take us into captivity. So we got to do something about this guy. Now, in doing this, right, we see in the 12th verse that Amaziah then goes back to Amos and then tries to kick him out. So you can imagine, after speaking with Jeroboam, he probably got the leeway or the permission to be, oh yeah, yo, get rid of this guy, right? Go ahead and deal with him. And so Amaziah comes back, right? Amos 7 and 12. Also Amaziah said unto Amos, O thou seer, go, flee thee away into the land of Judah, and there eat bread and prophesy there. So look, yeah, go take that over there to Judah. All right, that's where you from. Don't come out over here telling us the Lord's going to do this, Lord's going to do that. Like, who the hell are you? We're not trying to hear that. So yeah, take all that back to Judah and then go do your prophesying and stuff over there. Verse 13, but prophesy not again anymore at Bethel. For it is the king's chapel, right? His temple, and it is the king's court. All right, so you ain't got no business out here speaking all these things over here. Now, remember, this isn't, Amaziah is not reacting to just this chapter, right? When we read from Amos 7 and 1, he's not just reacting to this chapter of Amos's message. Amos has been prophesying all the way up until now. Now, this has been broken up, right, for us into chapters. But, for all we know, this could have been 1, 2, 3 days, 3 years. This could have been a X period of time in which Amos is constantly prophesying. And they're like, yeah, now we're not doing this anymore. So he basically tells him, nope, don't do that over here. We don't want to hear you prophesy over here anymore. Then answered Amos and said to Amaziah, I was no prophet, neither was I a prophet's son, but I was an herdman and a gatherer of sycamore fruit. So look, bro, I wasn't like Elijah and Elisha and the sons of the prophets and all. Nah, man, I was a herdman, okay, taking care of sheep, all right, and gathering sycamore fruit. And the Lord called me, right? Verse 15, and the Lord took me as I followed the flock. And the Lord Yahweh said unto me, go, prophesy unto my people Israel. So you coming at me, look, bro, I didn't grow up doing this. The Lord came to me and told me, look, this is what I want you to go and do. Verse 16, now therefore hear thou the word of the Lord Yahweh. Thou sayest, prophesy not against Israel, and drop not thy word against the house of Isaac. Therefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh, thy wife shall be an harlot in the city, and thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword, and thy land shall be divided by line, and thou shalt die in a polluted land, and Israel shall surely go into captivity forth of his land. Now you notice Amos's tune here now is more like a confirmation, right? To say, look, the Lord sent me here to prophesy, to warn you of these things that are to come. And you're out here telling me to stop talking about it, stop prophesying, you don't want to hear it. And so guess what? Now for sure. And when it says thy wife shall be in harlot in the street, it's talking about your women, your wives, all right? So not just like specifically targeting Amaziah, but he's saying this is what the Lord has said concerning your women, your sons and your daughters, right? And even you. And that's why he says here, surely, right, thou shalt die in a polluted land, meaning that you're going to be taken captive out of this land and your place of death is not going to be here, right? And Israel shall surely go into captivity forth of this land, because now All the warnings and all that I was prophesying for you to take heed, you didn't take heed. So it's of no doubt at this point that judgment the Lord pronounced is coming upon you. And that brings us to the end of Amos, the 7th chapter. Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kudash. And until next time, Shalom.